This is Ferrari's replacement for the Roma, and I'm going to give you an in-depth tour all around the looks, under the bonnet and inside, so please subscribe to the channel to make sure you don't miss any of our supercar first looks. Now we're going to talk all about the looks of this because it might be controversial, but actually if you look closely here, here and here, then this might actually be Ferrari getting some common sense back.
Too good to be true? Let me explain.
Okay, so let's start back here because it's Arrivederci Roma and Buongiorno Amalfi. And that's a relief, isn't it? First bit of common sense about this car is after mouthfuls like Pura Sangue and 12 Cilindri, we finally have a Ferrari name that most people can pronounce without absolutely butchering it. It's named after a beautiful southern coast region in Italy that's just above the sort of shin of the boot. If you think of it, incredibly picturesque. It's supposed to represent all of that dolce vita, best of Italian living vibes that a car like this is built for.
Question is, does the Amalfi look good enough to deserve being named after one of Italy's most picturesque destinations?
So next up, the looks. And from back here, it's not that different to how we left things with the Roma, is it? They've just sort of made it more menacing by covering up the tail lights that used to be exposed. They've moved the rear wing, which used to pop up somewhere about here and looked really weird, down right to the tail. It's a very small mechanism, so it doesn't eat too much into boot space. And there are 3 levels of downforce here with up to 110 kilos in the most sticky-uppy setting, as the aerodynamicists call it. Anyway, round here, maybe there's one too many panel lines, but otherwise it looks clean, looks kind of malevolent. I think it's cool. Come with me down here, and this is all, well, it feels familiar, doesn't it? It feels Roma. You've got this cab back stance to the car, very classical coupe, same big haunches that you look at in the mirror and think, this car is powerful. And then I really like what they've done with the bonnet because they've smoothed it out. The Roma had this ridiculous power bulge, which was a little bit embarrassing. One of the most beautiful design details on this entire car are these wheels. Do not get them painted black. I'm serious. They have done a stunning job here. Not only are they milled out of one block of aluminium, but they've invented a new way so the milling machine can kind of go round corners. Look at this. They've done a sort of split Y spoke, but there's holes behind the face of the spoke. And I spoke to the engineers and it does save weight and help cooling of the brakes, which is clever, but I'd buy it just for the way these look. Might be one of the best wheel designs in existence, and they set off the Amalfi, bellissimo. But then have they gone too far at the front? Have they cleaned it up just a little bit too much? You see, Mr. Manzoni, who designs all the Ferraris, he hates cars that have faces. He doesn't want cars that have eyes, a nose and a mouth. And that's why he gives his cars, like the F80, the 12 Cilindri, these masks, these visors. Sort of see what I mean? And this strip here, that's a place to hide the parking sensors, fine. But then you've still got to have other sensors down here because of legislation, kind of spoils the effect. And then for everyone who said, I don't want the front of my 12 Cilindri in black, I guess this is what you would have ended up with. You still get these winglets in the headlights, like the 12 Cilindri as well, which is a cool 3D feature. But as a whole, I'm not so sure. It's going to take a little while to get used to, but then so did the Roma with its weird kind of polka dot grille. I'm not sure if just as it is with the sort of faceless effect, it's not ever so slightly fishy.
But although the changes to the front end are tricky to read, what's gone on behind them isn't tough to understand.
And under the smoothed out bonnet, things get sensible once again, because this is a brand new Ferrari that doesn't have a preposterous power height. It's still a 3.9 litre twin turbocharged V8 with no hybrid assistance and no battery weight penalty, but they've only added 20 horsepower, so it's now up to 600 240. If you think of the leaps in power that we got with the 296 and then the Speciale, it's got a bit crazy really, hasn't it? You can't use these 800 horsepower monsters on the road, but this is going to come out with less power than an Aston Martin V8 Vantage, less power than a Porsche 911 Turbo. And I know that this is meant to be the entry-level model. It's the car that Ferrari says, welcome, come down, sit at our table, and then they proceed to sell you lots of other cars. So this is supposed to be less scary, not as intimidating, but I find it quite refreshing that this has got a power total that's plenty. I mean, it's getting on for what an Enzo had, but it's not terrifyingly too much. And it should sound and feel better to the driver because they've put lighter cams in, they've worked on making the engine revier, more responsive. I always found the Roma engine to be a great big power tower, but not that emotional and musical to use. Apparently this solves that. So more common sense thinking from the Prancing Horse.
Power still goes to an 8-speed twin-clutch gearbox mounted at the back for better balance. The Amalfi hits 62 miles an hour in 3.3 seconds, does 0 to 125 miles an hour in 9 seconds dead, and maxes at 200 miles an hour flat out. So it's a fast car, but unusually for a new Prancing Horse, it's not a mind-blowing one. Anyway, don't worry about the numbers being slightly from the past, because so is the absolute best bit of this car, inside.
Now, there are lots of big architectural changes in here, and I'm not interested in any of those right now because look, I'm back in 2009 and there are buttons on my Ferrari steering wheel. They have seen sense, they have listened to all the customers who hated the haptic feedback, touch sensitive nonsense that's been polluting all Ferrari since the SF90, and they've got rid of it. So we have clicky buttons up here on this spoke for working the infotainment. We have a shortcut button here to turn off all the driver assistant stuff, and then for answering the phone and cruise control. And because I guess so many owners got fed up of their car having a flat battery because they hadn't turned it off properly, there is now a physical engine starter button. Starting a Ferrari is an event. It should have a clicky button to make it feel a bit more special. It shouldn't just be like unlocking your phone. Then the other buttons that we actually learnt to get along with and loved have remained. So we've still got the indicators up here, the wiper controls, the headlight get out of my way flasher, tactile paddles, of course, but all of a sudden, all of these screens just feel so much less intimidating and fiddly because you've got clicky buttons to operate them with at last. That's not to say that they've completely gone back to the good old days, because if you look down here, the mirror controls, the fog light button, the stop start off, that's all still touch sensitive. I guess they thought that was too expensive to change. But interesting tidbit I heard from someone senior in Ferrari's engineering department is that this steering wheel can be retrofitted to any of the Ferraris that had the previous version, the old touch-sensitive steering wheel. So if you've got a 296 or a Dodici Cilindri, or if maybe that was the reason that you didn't buy an SF90, then you can go right ahead now and put this wheel in as an option. I'm sure that will be a bargain. So other stuff in here that's worthy of note. If you look at an old Roma interior, it was sort of architecturally interesting, but annoying to get in and out of. They designed it as 2 single-seater pods, and it just felt quite cramped. Here, they've just copied the Dodici Cilindri, haven't they? They've put a big central screen here. It's horizontal now, not vertical like it used to be in the Roma. Much more usable, and the interface is unrecognisably better, miles snappier. Although I would like a physical nose lift button on the steering wheel. Gonna have that next, please, Ferrari. Then there's still the show-off screen for your passenger on this side. You can see how they've kind of maintained the twin cockpit layout, kind of like the Purosangue. But yeah, you've just got more space and fewer angles to bash your knee on when you get in and out. Down here is something that I imagine most people will end up optioning out, and they shouldn't. This is this huge anodized slab, this bridge where the transmission controls live, and the key, which it's really wedged in there. I think they may have glued that. I literally can't get it out. But anyway, it looks quite pretty there, doesn't it? Don't option this in carbon fiber. Have it up here if you must, up here on the dashboard and down on the tunnel. But this feels expensive. In fact, all of it does now. Ferrari's very, very good at all the material science now, and in long gone are the days when these things were full of old bits of Fiat. The leather is waxy and soft. I love how minimalist they've gone with the inserts of the doors. It's just a big slab of carbon, big slab of suede, not loads of different panels and finishes. Simple, but just feels really cool, grown up, like it. And practicality wise, because this is meant to be one of the more usable Ferraris, there is a fairly decent glove box, there's loads of storage under here and charging for your phone, and there are two almost pointless back seats, probably about the same size as those in a 911 Turbo, but you're not fussed about that, you're not worried about the screens. Let's all just give thanks to, I don't know, whoever you pray to the new Pope. There are buttons back in a Ferrari.
Sales kick off early next year and prices will be just over the €250,000 mark before options.
So that's the Amalfi, and as you can see, it's easy to get out of. That's what I think this car is going to do. Just like the Roma, it's going to be the gateway car to the Ferrari kingdom, get people into the family, and then the sky's the limit. For me, what I'm excited about is what it represents. Ferrari does listen to criticism. It does know when power wars have gone too far. This makes me more excited to see what Ferrari does next by going back to the good old days.